Hey y'all, it's Brady. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me. We are a family of 4 if you are brand new here. It is myself, my husband, our 6-year-old, our 2.5-year-old, and our crazy 70-pound wannabe lapdog. So life is real fun around here, and I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button and stick around. Today's video, I'm just gonna bring you along as I cook today, and I am making kind of a big feast for dinner. And yes, there will definitely be leftovers, but I am making Chuy'S Copycat recipes at home, one of which is brand new that I've never made, so we're gonna check that out. But on the plan today, we are gonna make homemade flour tortillas, and then I've already got some already made corn tortillas, so we're gonna make boom boom enchiladas. And if you've never had the Chika Boom Boom Enchiladas at Chuy'S, then you may not know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of like a spicy queso sauce. So we're gonna make that, and then that's the new one to me. But then we're gonna use our homemade flour tortillas, and we are going to make homemade chicken quesadillas. Refried beans, I may just pull out a can, or I may make homemade, and then we're also gonna make some Mexican rice. And my favorite part is the creamy jalapeno dip. So we'll definitely be taking you along as we make that. So let's get right into the cooking. Okey-doke. So I'm gonna begin making the marinade for our chicken and get that marinating. So I just pulled 2 of the 2 packs of, no, I think one was 2 chicken breasts and one was 3 chicken breasts there that I had previously frozen, and then I had started thawing that out in the fridge. So they weren't completely thawed, but I thought while they were thawing the rest of the way, I would get them in the marinade so that they could marinate as they were thawing. Now this is something that I also do whenever I am marinating things for grilling or whatever. I will put this marinade on them before I freeze them, but I didn't think that far ahead. So we've got some olive oil here, some Worcestershire sauce, and various spices. So you'll see me add in the oil here, and I just don't measure, y'all. I don't know. I've made that joke before that's like you just keep adding it until your ancestors whisper, "That's enough, my child." I don't know. I saw that somewhere on a meme on Facebook one time, and that resonated with me because that's how I cook. It's just how the South goes. So there was Worcestershire sauce, and then 1.5 tablespoons-ish of minced garlic, and that's just my minced garlic from Sam's. I really like that. This is some dehydrated minced onion and cumin. I like quite a bit of cumin in there, and then some chili powder. Not a ton of chili powder, but just enough. It was not wanting to come out of that jar. And then we'll start to move that around and add some limes. I'm just rolling those out on the counter to soften them up, and that way the juice comes out a little better. I want to get one of those citrus presses where it, juices it for you for your lemons and limes. Let me know if you think those are worth it. These limes were still pretty hard to juice, so I just ended up using my knife to get most of the juice out there. But let me know if you think those juicers are worth it. But yeah, so I just used my knife, but if you think those are worth it, let me know. I don't know if they are or not, but maybe. I don't know. Let me know your experiences with those, and if you have a particular brand you recommend. So I am also just throwing these into the bag with our chicken. You can see my dog there in the background. She's like, "What are you cooking? Anything for me, Mom?" But this is just the juice and the actual pieces of 2 limes. I'm gonna wash my hands off there. They smell much better, I'm sure, just with the lime. But, I don't want all the sticky juice on my hands. And then seal up your bag. You could do this in a bowl as well. I was just kind of saving space in the fridge right now, being able to use a bag. And then just zhuzh this all around, and this will marinate. I'm gonna throw it on a plate just so if anything drips out of the bag. All right, so I'm gonna start out with making the creamy jalapeno dip for our dinner this evening. But you can see I'm trying to get everything together. So you need canned jalapenos. You can also use fresh jalapenos. You're just going to want to dice those up. Minced garlic, or you can cut your own. Green chilies, lime juice, ranch seasoning, and some sour cream, and you are also going to need milk, which is what I ran to get. Yep, there you go. You can use buttermilk. I think that's what the original recipe actually called for, but I've kind of tweaked the recipe on my own. And so I just use regular milk here, but you can certainly use buttermilk, and that's a 1/4 cup of jalapenos. And then I decided I wanted to add another slice. In with the minced garlic, you're going to want to add all these items here to your blender to mix this up, or your food processor, whatever you're using. And then I've also got some cilantro here that I'm just tearing off a bunch and going to dump those right on in there. And here's our ranch seasoning packet. You can use any brand that you prefer. A lot of people prefer the Hidden Valley. I find that the Kroger brand does a great job. And also some lime juice. And so then I'm just going to put the lid on here. And this is one of those Ninja blenders. I've had this thing for literally like 15 years. Well, maybe not that long. It's been at least 10 years. I don't know now. So I'm going to mix this up here, and I'll show you what the slurry, no better way to look at that, what that looks like. And then I'll add my sour cream here, and it is a cup of sour cream. You could also use a little bit of mayonnaise in this if you prefer. You could probably do all mayonnaise. I just don't know that I would. So this container was a 16-ounce container, but it wasn't quite full. So I am adding probably about 14 ounces of sour cream to this, maybe only about 12. It calls for a cup, but when I saw how, just a tiny amount was left in the container, I decided just to finish that off and dump it all in there. And then I'm going to wipe the rim off of that because it drives me crazy, and I'm just cleaning up here because, small spaces. If you don't clean up behind you, you will have a colossal disaster. And then it calls for about 1/3 of a cup of milk, but I just eyeball it here and add some more if I think I need it. And then blend this up. And the reason you'll want to do those like more solid items, your cilantro and green chilies and jalapenos, is just to make sure there's no chunks, because you're just mixing at the point, just pulsing a few times here at the end with the milk and sour cream. And so that is the finished product. I've got a 4-cup bowl here, and normally I would put this in a mason jar with these reusable lids that I have, but on this day I was also doing meal prep, and I made homemade ranch dressing, and for some reason I only have one of those lids, so I just went ahead with the bowl. Now let's move on. Let's get our tortillas going, because we are making homemade tortillas today. I'm using 6 cups of flour. This is a 1/3 of a cup measuring cup. This is self-rising flour, but you could also use all-purpose flour, whole wheat flour. If you do whole wheat flour, if you do just all whole wheat flour, I don't know that the consistency is the exact same, because I've never made it with whole wheat or just all whole wheat. So you may want to look into that and find you some recipes. But it's basically just some sort of fat. And today I'm going to use vegetable oil because that's just what I happen to have on hand. But you can also use Crisco, lard. You might be able to use butter. I don't know. I've never done that. But it was just 6 cups because this is a double batch of tortillas. So it's 6 cups of flour. And since it does have the salt and, what is that, baking soda or baking powder? No, I can't remember. Whatever self-rising flour has. It already has that in it, so I didn't need to add any of that. So this is super simple. It is just hot water, 6 cups of flour, and the vegetable oil. And I think I added 1/3 of a cup of oil to this, but yeah. So then you'll just see some of it did clump together with that oil since it's just such a large batch. So I'm just going through here with my fingers and breaking it up. If you did lard or Crisco, some shortening of some sort, you'll do this part anyways because you'll have to cut it in, or which I do have one of those fancy pastry cutters, but you'll have to cut it in or use your fingers like I'm doing now. And it's not so important like with biscuits where you would want your butter to be really, really cold. With this, it's okay that it, becomes room temperature, because it's going to anyways when you add the hot water. So I'm just going to sit here and mix this up. And if you can see already, I really should be wearing an apron, but I never do. I've already got flour on me and we just got started. So, here we go. I actually own a couple of aprons, and there should be more of them somewhere. I think they're in a box in the attic or something from when we moved. But, yeah, I don't know. I can't find them. And even the ones that I do have on hand, I never wear them. I don't know why. But yeah, here goes in a cup of hot water. And I think I'm actually going to need about a cup of hot water, because this is a double batch. But, Okay, so now that I am back, I don't know where I disappeared. Oh, yes, I do. I went and washed my hands. Because even though they're going to get dirty again, yeah, that's me. And I disappeared again to get another cup of hot water here. And so we're going to add that in because it definitely needed more water. And I think the original recipe that I started with on this before I made it my own, I think she did like 3.5 cups of flour to 1 cup of hot water. So it definitely needed more. And then I'm just using a big wooden spoon here to mix this up. Gives you some leverage. And then what you don't see here in a minute before I start rolling these out is that what I did continue to do, and I encourage you to do, is take literally about a minute. You can put it on your surface or you can leave it in the bowl and just knead it together with your hands. That is the easiest way to get this to come together a little more smoothly, because you can see how rough the dough is at this point. And yeah, so I'm just going to clean up my area here and then get things set up. Okie doke. So now we are set up. I've got my French rolling pin out here. Any rolling pin will do. And then I'm using one of my little Silpat things here to kind of keep my surface clean. But if you've got your own, yeah, and you can see how sticky this is. I tried to go ahead and roll these out before kneading that, but you're going to see that I stop here in a minute and knead that dough together off to the side in a moment, because it is just too sticky. And that is what you're going to run into if you don't kind of bring that dough fully together there. It still worked. We still cooked this tortilla, but it definitely does a better job. So you can see it's pretty thin. It was pretty easy to roll out even with it being sticky. But we are going to, if you can kind of see off to the bottom right here of the screen where I was kneading that together. And now that we've got the dough kneaded together, I'm going to start back with another one. And if you see, that did much better rolling out. It's still going to be a little sticky, and you're still going to need the flour, but it goes much better. And just roll these out. They're not going to be perfect circles. You can buy tortilla presses, but in my opinion, with flour tortilla dough, they just don't. I had a tortilla press for a couple of years, and it was something that I'd always wanted, and I thought this would make my life much easier. But honestly, because I have not attempted corn tortillas yet, I just think that this goes much better for me to use the French rolling pin. And I like the French because I don't like the handles on a regular rolling pin. So I'm just getting little dough balls here. They're about probably an inch and a half in diameter. And then I just kind of cover them with flour and put a little flour on my rolling pin. And I'll roll flat, flip it over and around, and keep flipping over and around as you stretch the dough out. And that does get you a circle-ish shape. I am not perfect at that. But what I was saying about the tortilla press is I think that that would work much better if you were making corn tortillas, because it's not such a stretchy dough, and so it will press out better for you. So here's a look at my pan. I've been cooking some tortillas here, and so I'm just going to keep them covered up and stacked up with a towel, and you can see my disaster of it trying to fall off. Hello, small spaces. And just that quickly, that was about 30 seconds of time. I've got this on a medium-high heat, and it is already starting to bubble, and then you want to flip right over. You can certainly use a griddle for this, and you could put more tortillas on at one time. I don't have a griddle anymore just because of space, but I find myself as the girls have gotten older, because I had one before we even had our second child, and I decided in decluttering, when I was nesting to have her, I decided to go ahead and get rid of it because I wasn't using it. But, you know, alas, I'm now wishing that I had it, because once our second daughter was here and started eating table food with us, you know, there we go. So I'm showing you and kind of pointing to my bowl here that what I do and what I had been doing is just rolling out multiple, because you need to be able to stand over here by the pan. So I roll out like 6 or 7 of them, put them around the edge of the bowl like that, and then come over here and cook a few at a time, come back and roll some more out. And then at the end, you won't see the girls doing it, but I did let the girls roll out the last couple of tortillas because they enjoy that. Here is a look at our chicken grilling. And then we have just kind of got everything going on here. And I'm dropping stuff out of this cabinet, y'all. This never ends. I'm always and forever dropping stuff out of this cabinet. So something I will be working on soon, very, very soon, hopefully for y'all, is a video of me organizing my small kitchen area, because it's got to get better. So I am just putting some cumin. I showed you a can of refried beans, and I did decide to go with canned just to make it a little easier on myself today. And I got the canned refried beans out, put some cumin and a little bit of garlic powder in those. And then I've just got them kind of coming to temperature, like room temperature there on the stove, on the warming thing, and then I'll move them over to an eye in a minute. And I've got some plain chicken back there boiling. Now, to this front little pan, I have got some chopped onions, some orange bell pepper that I'd already chopped in my meal prep, or not in my meal prep, but this morning for breakfast. So I had some of that left over, and then some of the green chilies were left over from another can that I had, so I threw those in there as well. And this will be part of the filling for the chicken quesadillas. Okay, so here's my chicken. It was done. I had planned to use this boiled chicken, just plain boiled chicken, in the Chika Boom Boom Enchiladas. However, I did realize towards the time that I start putting this together, and you'll see me show you that in a minute, that I actually didn't need that chicken. So the girls do not like, it's kind of crazy. They prefer what they call white chicken that does not have any grill marks on it. And so to keep them happy, we did give them that chicken instead, which you'll see here at the end. And then I just kept the rest of that in my fridge. Kind of worked out as some meal prep. And we'll have that on hand for lunches, or if I need to throw together a quick chicken salad or something, we'll definitely use it up. And in the oven, I had 2 chicken breasts that I already pulled off the grill. And so, yeah. So I'd put them in the oven to make sure that they were cooked through because they were so large. So normally you will never see me, almost never, use margarine. However, I do keep a little bitty tub of it on hand because that's what my husband prefers on his toast. And on occasion, if I'm making grilled cheese or if I am making some sort of quesadilla like this, I need some to spread around. And I didn't think ahead to lay out some butter to thaw, to come to room temperature out of the fridge. So I am just margarining instead of buttering. Margarining, whatever. I'm putting some of this margarine on here, and then I'm just folding them together like that. So because these tortillas are not store-bought, they are not all the same size and shape. So what I do is I go through and kind of pair them up of what will go together so that your filling doesn't fall out quite so badly, and so that they are pretty much the same size. And then when I butter them, to keep the butter from getting all over everything, I put the butter sides together, and then they are ready to go when I go over to the stove to start filling them and cooking them up for the quesadillas. So this is something that is super easy, kind of figure out how many you're going to need of the quesadillas for your family. We definitely didn't use all these tortillas. We, in fact, still have some left after having it for leftovers the following night. So, yeah, tons of that. I've got some chicken here. That's our grilled chicken. that has cooled, and I am just going to chop that up. So this really helps to have your chicken already chopped up. I should have also chopped up my cilantro, but I did not. And then have your bag of cheese, or if you shred your own, have that shredded up and set aside for you. Any veggies that you want cooked up or chopped for this, go ahead and do that. Butter your tortillas and have them together, and then that way you just kind of make an assembly line while cooking these. So yeah, I am just rough chopping these up. I just want it to be in little chunks, and then I'll put it all on a plate to bring over there to the stove with me. And that way I am just ready to go, and I'm not scrambling so much trying to cut up each piece of chicken. And well, not even each piece of chicken. 2 of these chicken breasts made like 6 or 7 quesadillas, because we definitely did not use all of it for tonight's quesadillas when I only made 3 or 4. Okay, so yeah, I'm just going to chop these up and get that plate ready to go. And of course, I had to taste it and make sure that it is good. Okay, so I'm going to get back over here and check on these veggies. We turn those down. I've also got the refried beans moved over to that eye, and they have started to bubble. So I'm going to turn those down just a tad and move them over. And then I've also got some rice that I forgot to show y'all me mixing this up. It was just about 2/3 of a cup of rice, and then a can of Rotel and some water, and just let that come to a boil and cook like normal rice. So here I've got my corn tortillas that I had frozen in the freezer from a big pack from Sam's. And so I thawed those out, and I'm putting the grilled chicken in here, and then rolling those up and putting them in my oiled dish. Sometimes normally for enchiladas, I would put the sauce in the bottom a little bit to keep it from sticking, but I just did it this way with a little bit of oil because my sauce was not quite ready. And I definitely could have kept going here, but I ended up just filling this pan to the end instead of going over on the side as well. I think this pan is a 9x13. It is a Pioneer Woman glass baking dish that came with that red lid that you saw, and then it also came with like one of the hot or cold carrying cases. And so yeah, I really like it. It's a little more shallow than most of my 9x13 pans, but I really like it for that reason, because sometimes I don't like the deeper ones. So you saw that tortilla, or that enchilada there, tried to fall apart on me. That's going to happen to you. It is no big deal. And a couple of these tortillas were a little more frozen still, so they didn't, they weren't as pliable. But there is a look at our pan, and then I need to get over there and make our sauce. You can see my wonderful husband brought me over the salsa. I actually had to put that in via a shipped order. So I have got some chicken quesadillas there already cooking up, and I'm going to pull them onto a plate. And, well, I guess technically 2 separate plates there to get those cooling, and we'll get another couple of them in the pan. And then I'm going to work on my sauce. So my veggies were done cooking, and I'd moved them over. Here's this Frontero Tomatillo salsa, and I'm just going to put that in the pot and then start adding our cheese ingredients. This salsa has roasted tomatillos. I'm also adding about half of a 4-ounce can of the green chilies. And then I'm also going to start adding in our cheese items. I've got 2 packets of Velveeta cheese sauce here that you can buy separately, and then some mild cheddar cheese from Sam's Club that I'm going to throw in as well. Now this called for white American or yellow American cheese by the block. I could not find that even if I tried in my stores, but I also wanted to use up this Velveeta that I had on hand. So we definitely, it could have been less cheesy, and I think it would have been better, but it did turn out well. But this salsa just has roasted tomatillos, onions, jalapenos, green chilies, a little bit of tomatoes, and then some lime juice, salt, pepper, that sort of stuff. But I'm going to add my own lime juice to this, some more shredded cheddar cheese, and then of course I'd already added those 2 packets of Velveeta cheese. And then all this takes is to just whisk this and let it heat through and melt the cheese, and then it is ready to go. So it's kind of a green chili enchilada sauce, but it has the cheese in it. So the real Chika Boom Boom enchiladas are more of like a spicy queso. This wasn't quite it, but they were pretty good. So you just see me here. It just took a few minutes to kind of melt down and stir it all together. And then once the cheese was totally melted and our sauce was ready to go, then I poured it over the enchiladas. And of course, in typical Brady fashion, I have spilt some just even trying to stir this. So, and if you're curious, yes, my kitchen was totally obliterated after cooking all of this stuff today and meal prepping. So here we go. Here is our cheesy sauce. And like you see here, I definitely had enough sauce to have filled that pan with enchiladas, but I did not. So just pour that sauce over there. We're going to add a little bit of the shredded Fiesta blend cheese. And I also want to make sure that that sauce seeps in so that all of the enchiladas are covered with sauce, and then put some shredded cheese on the top. Here we go, into the oven, 350 degrees until it is bubbly.
All right, so after a very long day of cooking, if you can't tell if you've already seen our video from before of my meal prep, Monday meal prep video, I'm gonna link that up here for you and at the end of the video if you're interested. But if you can't tell, I'm wearing the same clothes. It's because I've done this all in one day. So I've been cooking since about 10:30 or prepping food, doing things like that. Still didn't get my full list done, but dinner is done. So I'm gonna share with y'all our meal, our Chuy'S Copycat recipes, and then we'll let you know what we think about them. So it is now 6:45, so yeah, about 8.5 hours of cooking, not a bad deal. I did take a break in there, so let me flip you around. I'll show you what the plates look like. All right, so here is dinner. We've got the homemade tortillas, the Chika Boom Boom chicken enchiladas. We have got my plate. That is not quite as pretty. Then here's my husband's plate because he wanted a little bit of everything. He likes the rice and beans. I'm not a huge fan. So we have got homemade Mexican rice, refried beans that were out of a can, but we, you know, jazzed them up. And then the homemade creamy jalapeno dip, chicken quesadillas, and then the Chika Boom Boom enchiladas. And then of course, the girls aren't really gonna eat any of this except for the tortillas and some plain chicken. So I deconstructed a quesadilla for them and gave them some strawberries and cucumbers as well. And like I said on mine are just chicken and cheese and cilantro on my quesadillas. And then I've got a little bit of the creamy jalapeno dip as well. So we are gonna dig in. Everyone has been anxiously waiting for this dinner, so we are gonna dig in. Okay, so the lighting is terrible in here, but I wanted to wrap up this video and let you know what we thought about the new recipe that we tried. So the Chuy'S Copycat Creamy Jalapeno Dip, we have made that many times, and we always love it. It is great. It is, to me, as close as you're gonna get to the restaurant. And then I've also always made, for years now, probably going on 7 or 8 years, that I've made the tortillas. So those turned out great. What else? And then, so I've since then also been making our own chicken quesadillas with those, and those always turn out well too. So the new recipe that we tried was the Chika Boom Boom Copycat recipe. So I would definitely say that it was a good recipe, but it's not a true copycat for Chika Boom Boom enchiladas. It's a lot cheesier than in the restaurant, but it was good. So my husband was like, you know, definitely make it again. It just isn't the same as what we were trying to replicate. So that is everything. My kitchen is a disaster. After 8.5 hours of cooking and preparing things, I'm tired. So, but yeah, that's what we thought. That is a look at everything today. I will link the video here for you at the end of our Monday meal prep inspiration video that you're going to see that came up before this. And I'll also leave a link to some shopping haul playlists for you to check out. So I will see y'all in the next video.